Hey guys, it's Costa and I'm going to be presenting 5 oil myths, the top 5 that I come across with my customers in the stores, the ones that I read most about online. I'm going to go through each of them and explain why they're myths, so stay tuned. Myth number 5. This is a hotly contested one. It's very debatable, but you should change your oil every 3,000 miles. Now, obviously, in my line of work, coming in every 3,000 miles would be beneficial to the business model, but in 2019, 2020, and going forward, it is just not the case anymore. You have multiple car manufacturers who are allowing for up to 10,000 miles in between oil changes. The motor oils and engine oils are getting much more sophisticated. They can go longer between oil changes without breaking down. One thing I would like to point out is that your oil is only as good as your filter. So if you have a filter that has a paper media and it's only good for 3,000 miles, then you should change your oil every 3,000 miles. But if you have a filter that is designed to go further in between oil change intervals, and that matches up with an oil that is designed to go more than 10,000 miles, then you have a good combination for going more than that 3,000 miles. But myth number 5, you have to go 3,000 miles in between oil changes. Oil myth number 4, synthetic oil will cause your engine to leak. Now, of all the topics in oil, the synthetic probably has the most myths surrounding it, much more than 5, but one of the most perpetuated myths is that changing to synthetic oil will cause the seals in the engine to wear down and leak. This is completely not true. As long as your gaskets are in good shape, you won't have a leak. Now, what caused this myth in the first place is you have a bunch of people get online and say, oh, I switched to synthetic oil and it caused my engine to leak, when really what happened was the synthetic oil exposed existing gasket problems that were already there. It had nothing to do with the oil itself. Now, the smaller molecules in synthetic oil do allow for it to get through those cracks in the gasket, but that has nothing to do with the oil, that has to do with the gasket. So those cracks and crevices need to be taken care of. It doesn't matter, because eventually it's going to cause a problem with whatever oil you put in it, regardless of if it's synthetic or mineral-based oil. Oil myth number 3. Switching to synthetic oil means you can never go back. This is one, especially in my business, we get a lot of people who say, oh, I went somewhere and they said that now that I'm on synthetic oil, I can't go back. Switching between synthetic, conventional, synthetic blend is not going to cause any damage to your car. Synthetic blends are a mixture of the two. And in fact, to be perfectly honest, these days there's not very much conventional oil left on the market anyway. So there's a lot of mixtures ranging from 12% to 88%, 17% to 83%, 40, 60, 50, 50. But there's really not much conventional oil left on the market anyway. Everything is moving towards that synthetic, and so cars are designed to handle that oil. You cannot, it's more about the viscosity than anything. So if you go back and forth, it's not going to cause any problems to your car at all. Oil myth number 2. Using synthetic oil in a car that doesn't call for it will void the warranty. This is not true. As long as the oil that's being used, whether the base oil is a synthetic base or a mineral base, meets the viscosity and the performance requirements outlined by the owner's manual, you're gonna be fine. You're not. It's not going to void your warranty. There's like a supplemental oil myth that goes along with this with the Dexos. A lot of shops will say that Dexos is only a full synthetic. That is a big myth as well. Dexos is a spec. It's not a type of oil, so you can have a synthetic blend Dexos. There's not much of it, and that's why shops don't carry very much synthetic blend Dexos oil. It's just the generations of the oil have moved to a point where it's very difficult to find synthetic blend Dexos oil, but it is in fact true that you can get a synthetic blend Dexos. So there's a lot of confusion if you read Yelp reviews on a lot of shops that deal with this. A lot of the complaints will be, I was forced into a full synthetic because I have a GM vehicle that requires Dexos. While that's true, you're most likely, no matter how many times you go around the block looking for different oil changes, most of the shops are going to have full synthetic Dexos. So while you can get synthetic blend Dexos, the shops aren't trying to mislead you by saying the Dexos is a full synthetic. It's because most of the product out there that is Dexos spec is a full synthetic. And oil myth number one, my favorite. It's what when I interview anyone for the shop, or any of the shops, it's one of the first questions I ask because it kind of gives some insight into how familiar that individual is with motor oil. But the W in oil does not stand for weight. It stands for winter, and that is by far the most the most commonly given myth around oil, and a lot of people do think it stands for weight. What it really stands for is winter, and the reason is the viscosity of the oil in a multi-grade oil, meaning that there's two numbers. It represents the viscosity, the thickness of the oil. So the higher the number is, the thicker the oil, and these oils change with temperature. So you have your W, which is your oil viscosity in the wintertime, and then you have the back end, which is the number that the viscosity is in the summertime. There's a formula, you can look it up. It's not really important to know, other than you should be following what's in your owner's manual, but the W stands for winter, not weight. And there's kind of a sub myth to go along with this one, that thicker oil is always better. There's a lot of old hat shops out there that carry just 10W30, and they're doing a disservice to many people out there who have 020 cars, and now the 016 cars are rolling out. It's not good to be putting 1030 in every single car. I've seen it way too often, unfortunately, but putting in the thicker oil is not automatically better. So that's it for the 5 oil myths. There's many more. I'm sure I'll do more videos on it, but for right now, those are the top 5 in my opinion. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you like the video, give it a like or share it. So thanks.